What happens in the sky affects life down here on Earth. The celestial compass shows you how and guides your way with astrology you can use from professional astrologer Beverly Biehl. Every episode features her light-hearted, practical forecasts and navigational tips, blended with humor, optimism, and a love of patterns, symbolism, and pop culture references. Kathy translates technicalities into concepts that apply to real life. You'll learn how the current moment ties to where we've been, from the recent past to cycles that last happened years ago, and get a look at where we're heading. And much more, from special topics to special guests. The Celestial Compass, enlightening, entertaining, and empowering. Here's your host, Beverly Biehl.
Greetings, Earthlings. I'm Beverly Biehl of EmpowermentUnlimited.net. And before we get into today's episode, I want to give you a brief update of what is going on astrologically. The really important thing I want you to take away is that on February 4th, our social vibe, the way we interact with each other, changes drastically with Venus moving into Aries. This is very different than the floaty, let's look in each other's eyes and sit and be unhinged and see the good in everybody and be kind of confused and not know what's going on. Two, we're all turning into Xena, warrior princess, Wonder Woman. There's a feminine streak to this. Yes. Venus is entering her huntress mode. Venus is the planet of desire. And in many signs, she kind of sits back and waits for someone to bring her what she wants. No waiting with Venus in Aries. This is fiery. It's feisty. She pounces on it. There is an impulsiveness and unpremeditated jumping. We are all getting our mojo back in a big, big way. Venus is going to be in in Aries until the end of March, and then she retrogrades back into Pisces for a bit and returns to Aries again at the end of April. So we'll have a good long time for this. For right now, it's going to spur everyone to action. Later in the week, we have what's called Cazimi. Mercury meets the sun. They fuse in the sign of the collective in Aquarius. And we're going to get very, very clear. A lot of stuff is going to become abundantly clear. And around that time, Venus is going to have a handshake aspect with Pluto, her counterpart in desire and money. You could have amazing power, ferocity, focus rising up within you and just sending you forward. So see what your marching orders are. There's something for each of us to do right now. Next week, we have the full moon in Leo, and it is a time of big, big, big issues of self-expression and validation coming to a head. It is square the planet Uranus, which brings massive change and enlightenment and awakening and epiphanies. If you felt stuck somewhere, you will be blown out of the stuckness. You will see a different way of being. And like I always say, when we got something really heavy with Leo going on, there are big issues about who gets you and who doesn't get you. And times of just giving up on the people that don't understand you, getting away from situations where you're not being appreciated or validated. And that will catapult us into the rest of the month. More about that later. But for now, we're going to look at a different system, the Chinese system. And once again, Beverly Biehl has come back to discuss the Chinese New Year with us. Welcome, Beverly.
Thank you so much for having me, Kathy. I love these chats that we've been doing. And yes, we are no relation, but I still feel like you're my soul sister.
That's right. Honestly, truly no relation. We could explain to you why. Anyway, Not worth it. And we do know each other in real life. We have actually like shared meals together. We've seen each other. We know each other. So it's great. Beverly, can we start by you telling people who have not seen you before what your background is and why it is that a couple of white girls sitting here can talk about a Chinese system?
Yeah, I do get that. I'm so I got introduced to feng shui back in 2000, and I guess it was 2003. I had just finished with breast cancer treatments, and one of my neighbors gave me a book. It was called Move Your Stuff, Change Your Life. It was a very simplified version of feng shui. And at that point, I'd already experienced the whole, surgery, radiation, chemo, all of that. And I was going to say, like, what if this thing can actually help my house help me, then cool, we're going to try it. And actually it did. The amount of coincidences that were created by following some of these principles were still remain to be rather astonishing. In 2017 is when I shifted to a more classical approach, which brought me into the fullness of Chinese metaphysics. Before, it was more like paint by numbers, and this now is more of a bespoke option of looking at how the energy of your space is impacting you. Feng Shui translates to wind and water. It's talking about not just like the physical way of that you see energy, like the positioning of your furniture, the orientation of the buildings, what type of artwork and colors you have, but also the wind aspect. Nobody sees the wind, but you feel it. And so much of what Kathy talks about in all of her work is the unseen way that the planets are impacting us, and we all feel it, but just because I can't see Venus doesn't mean that I'm not feeling that. I'm already feeling that rush of, hey, we're taking what we want. So that kind of gives a little bit of an overview of where I'm coming from. I have studied with, let's see, I think the last count was, oh gosh, now I think it's 9 or 10 different teachers. And I spent an intensive, a week-long intensive in Malaysia with Joey Yap, who is my primary teacher. But in addition, I've also, another one of my next teachers that I've been working with a lot is a woman named Jessie Lee. And she, I think she splits her time between Malaysia and Tibet. So there's still an element of that, what I really enjoy of the Tibetan Buddhism aspect of things. But there's no religion that's associated with this. This is all simply a philosophy and a different way of looking at how the planets are moving around. So that kind of, in a little bit of a nutshell, that's me.
So can we do a little bit of Chinese New Year 101? How is it calculated?
So the Chinese calculations are focusing primarily on the Lunar New Year cycle, or the lunar cycle. That's why they began the 15-day celebration of the Chinese New Year beginning on January 29th this year. It changes every year because Lunar New Year, lunar. But for Chinese metaphysics purposes, everything keys in on, again, either the February 3rd, February 4th, really everything, starts on February 4th, because that's when the solar part of the New Year piece comes in. That's how we calculate everybody's birth chart. So for example, if somebody is born this year, if they were born on January 29th or January 30th this year, technically they're still born in the dragon year, but according to the chart would not necessarily, so they would be a dragon, even though January 30th they're already starting to celebrate the year of the snake. It gets real gray, it gets real squishy. So for the clients who are having those end of January, early February birthdays, they just have to be patient while we do all the manipulations. But But there are 60 different combinations of animal signs. There's 12 animal signs. Most people have seen those if they've ever eaten at a Chinese restaurant and they've had the placemats with the different signs. But there are also 5 elements, and each of these 5 elements have a yin, which is the more recessive, softer, slower moving presentation, or the yang, yang, yang. I will probably use those interchangeably as we talk. And that's the more action oriented, more forceful, sharper edges. Some refer to them as male and female. There's really, even though there's really no gender, it's just that the shorthand for the energy. And it is obviously very closely aligned with the solar return, or the Jupiter return cycle. This is actually my year. I was born in 1965. That was the last time we had the yin-wood snake combination. So if you want to get a sneak peek into what 2025 is going to look like, just look back at 1965.
And that says a lot right there.
Yeah. And, a lot of really positive things happened in 1965, and a lot of really kind of traumatic things were happening in 65. But in general, when you look at the animal of the snake itself, in many cultures, we kind of have, not done kind things to snakes, especially here in the US, but in most cultures, they're linked with healers and healing because of their connection with their bellies directly on the ground there. So they've got this real strong connection to the earth. Snakes are, as they grow, they literally shed their skin. And so there's a massive transformation association with snakes. And also the healing, because they're kind of, that's part of their self-healing. Snakes will, they move by going back and forth. I kind of wore this on purpose because you can kind of see how the necklace indicates how they move. They have to move back and forth. So there's a lot of, okay, well, I'm going to go this way, and then I'm going to go that way. And it doesn't feel like you're ever making forward progress, even as you are. The other thing that snakes can like to do is they will wait until it's time to strike. And it is, and they will also, they like to be private. They don't necessarily want to be out and about because, again, they're on the ground. They want to kind of be hidden until it's time for them to go for their prey. One of the other qualities, though, of snakes is sometimes they don't necessarily know how much they can actually swallow. And so snake energy does have an aspect of greediness, biting off more than they can chew, saying yes to too many projects without thinking, oh, wait a minute, what are my resources? Do I have the capacity for this? And that happens to their downfalls. So that is something too that this year is going to bring about for a lot of people, is just they really need to take that step back and look at how, what is their ability to go, maybe take a promotion or add one more thing. If you're one of those people who keeps thinking, oh, I can just do one more project before I leave the house to get to someplace else, don't. Just dial that back. The yin wood part, though, is something else to consider too. So yin wood is the energy of like the flowering vines, grass, the white flowers that I have behind me. There's an element of being able to use a sturdy structure to climb up and get more of an overview. Not as big of an overview as we had last year with the dragon energy, but you still get to see a little bit more above, the bigger picture. And when you have that combination between the snake that is really connected to the earth and that yin wood element that gives you more of that overview, then truly, for those who are ready for it, this can be a year to catapult you forward to massive success and massive growth if you're ready for it and if you've done the work.
And these qualities of the year are something that are available to everyone, not
Yes,
just someone who was born in the year of the snake. Right.
absolutely.
General
Absolutely.
qualities.
Right. And now I will also say too that every animal sign, because they're all associated with a direction on the compass, every animal sign has the opposite animal sign on that same compass. So last year, the opposite side for the dragon energy was the dog, those who were born in October. This year, the clash animal is those who have monkey in their sign, or if they were born in the month of August. So if people were born in the month of August, this is the year to expect it to be a little bit like sandpaper. Sandpaper comes in a variety of grits. They're made, yeah. So, sometimes it's like a smooth polishing cloth. It's like, okay, well, we've been doing this great thing. We're just gonna, like the salt scrub for your hands, and it's like, oh, taking all those the little bits and pieces off, and look at that. Now everything is just glowing and fabulous. But sandpaper can also come in the form of like a planer, or something that will literally take the bark off a tree. And if you are ready, if you are not paying attention to the transformation needed, then life will give you the transformation that you are required to have. And sometimes it's not pleasant. So just know that when this happens, it is not that you've done anything wrong. It's just, it's time to grow. I cannot tell you how many of my clients have been contacting me already before it even officially hit snake year. How many of them are really involved in massive life transformations, jobs, relationships, housing, and all of the above. It is honestly a little mind-boggling, and that doesn't even get into the whole political side of things. So, but that's how the snake energy is there, and as well as the yin wood energy is there for a lot of people. We're here now to have support. We are looking for we want to be able to show up and look for the joy and find the beauty, but also it's okay to kind of like prune off some of the things. Think about grass. Grass has to get trimmed every so often in order for it to not get out of control.
And snakes slither through it, so that makes sense. Okay. So, on a general level, you've said some things about some of the challenges, some of the potential. Is there a pattern to how the year is going to go? Is there a flow?
Well, yes. So do you have any of did you have the first slide that I gave you?
Can we put the first slide up?
I'm a big fan of visual aids, because again, this is such a different system. This is this is the chart based that Jessie Lee, the teacher that I've attended many of her classes online, provided. That this is 10:12 p.m. and this will be Malaysia time, and so this is how this came about. And so this is what a Chinese astrology chart looks like. So she did one for the entire year. And when you look at, there's a year pillar, month, day, and hour. Each of them is corresponding to something different in how things are coming together. But what I want to point out here, and this is a general thing for everybody, is you'll see that there are 3 blue boxes, which are water elements, and 3 green boxes, which are the wood elements, and then only 1 earth and only 1 fire. Again, there are 5 elements, and the last one that is missing is the metal element. Metal energy is really important because that's the helpful people energy. That's the creative problem solving energy. It's the energy that provides structure and order and organization. And um, and so we only have that in a one tiny hidden stem on the year pillar. What this means is this year is one of kind of missing organization, missing structure. It is like because of the help, even the helpful people aspect, it can mean that people may feel like they have no leader, or that the leader that they have in their company or their country or their family or in their own personal world has abdicated their responsibilities to the rest of us. Now you'll also see that, yeah, so in the 5 element cycle, there's the constructive cycle, which is water nourishes the wood. The wood is then chopped down to make firewood. So the wood nourishes the fire. Once that fire burns everything down, it creates the ash, which is creating earth. And at the center of the earth is the metals inside of it. And then the metal nourishes the water because it is like the condensation on the outside. So that's how that all constructive cycle works. And then there's like a destructive cycle where the wood diminishes the water, it uses it up. The wood uses the nutrients out of the earth, etc. So without kind of going into a whole feng shui class, I wanted to at least point out that we have the 3 resource elements that are the water, and then we have the 3 other elements of the wood that are about like moving forward, growing, trying to expand and go and build on itself. But there's no metal really in this chart to replenish that water. Water energy is emotional energy. Water energy is financial energy. And so this is a year, this chart tells me that there's not a whole lot of replenishment of the resources that we have. And that because from the natural energy of the year. And so this is why if you know you have metal energy in your personal chart, then you'll do a little bit better than if you don't have metal energy in your personal chart. And you'll just need to be careful to not expend all of your resources, whether it's financial or emotional, right away. Because like right now, think of it as a tube of toothpaste. When you get a brand new tube of toothpaste, hey, you can just be all, hippy skippy, yip, and just, use it up. But then towards, the end of the year and towards this fall, you're like, oh, wait, I only have a little teeny tiny bit left. I have to like be Scrooge McDuck about it. So if you realize at the get-go that, okay, I have to make this last, people can make wiser decisions. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to show this as a visual aid so that people can see what's going on. If you can go to the next slide, I think we've got enough time before the break I can talk to you about it. Every month, while you're preparing the next slide, every month we have a combination of animal signs and the elements. And this one absolutely shocked me when I was in class with Jessie Lee. Every single one of these months has some type of clash or some type of drain. Even where it looks like it might have been a little more of an even par, like in January of 2026, when there's the same group like that, you would think, okay, well, that should be fine, except depending upon the animal that's associated with the element there, because each animal sign has their own internal element. I know, lots of layers, but even that one, it is in the wrong season. So every animal is born in a different season. And the last time that these have, they were all clashing, let's see, just for chickles and grins, I looked this up. In the 1930s, we had a chart that looked like this. In fact, and then 1940, we also had a chart that looked a lot like this, and also in 2020. So, yeah. And looking ahead even further, 2026 is not a whole lot better. It doesn't really start to get a little nicer combinations until towards the end of 2026. Very important for us to keep our powder dry. Very important for all of us to be frugal, to be wise, to not get panicked about certain activities, and to just use what you have before going out and getting something new. I am not saying that we're going to go, have any kind of a massive war or anything like that. I don't see any kind of massive illness stuff happening, at least based on these energies and these charts. But the clashes are very, very real, and they are going to be unrelenting. And I hate saying that, but at the same time, we are undergoing such a transformation. We get to choose our attitude towards the transformation. We either get to be dragged kicking and screaming into the future, or we get to move forward with an abundance mindset of, how can I get some good deals? How can I make this work for me and not to me?
Well, that looks like a really good place for us to take our break. So hang on, everybody. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Om Times TV.
Want help with your own celestial compass? Visit my site, empowermentunlimited.net, for Astro Insight forecasts for each week, month, and new and full moon. Want to explore the personal impact? Make a decision? Understand another person? It is possible. Click the Services tab to book a personal session with me. That address again? empowermentunlimited.net.
Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back to Celestial Compass. We're talking with Beverly Biehl, no relation that we know of, the intuitive interior, about the Chinese year of the wood snake. And I'm wondering if you're ready to go on to your next.
Yes.
Will aid. Okay, can we have the third slide, please? This is the natal Bagua map, right?
Yes. So again, one of the things that I know that when I was looking at all of this initially, it felt a little hopeless, because when you see all of the energies, it almost feels like it's just completely stacked against us. the best way for us to deal with it is to take control of our space. This is where feng shui comes in outside of the Bazi, the Chinese astrology. I wanted people to see this because this is where the flying stars live normally. Now, the flying stars, they kind of got their name because there was actually another slide that I thought of adding, but we only have so much time. Every one of these stars actually correspond to one of these stars on the Big Dipper. So when you look at the Big Dipper, at the very point of the little dip, the bowl part, that's number 1. And then it kind of goes along, and then the number 8 and the number 9 stars are really not visible to the human eye. But as the seasons change, the location of the Big Dipper shifts as well. And that is how they came up with this whole philosophy. Now, one of the things that many people have heard of, if they follow feng shui at all, is the 5 yellow. And you'll see here that the number 5 is in the center part. The number 1 is the north. They have their directions inverted. And so that's just how the Chinese tradition have put this all together. If people want to take a screenshot of this down the road, they can also see that there are body parts that are associated with different sectors of the map. But the number 5 is the one that tends to get the bad rap because it is in the center. It is in the middle. It is like a wheel. It is the fulcrum. It is the hub. If one of the spokes gets damaged, well, you can like flop around on a flat tire, but if the hub breaks, nothing else works. And so that's why, again, focus on health is such a key thing in all of Chinese metaphysics. And it's very happy. It wants to stay right there in this nice little balanced spot. So just notice how these numbers are in this Bagua map. This is actually a map that can expand or contract over an entire home. It can expand or contract over in just a single room, or as you'll see in one of my other slides, an entire country. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide. Because as we're making this transition, I'll continue talking about how each of these numbers, each of these sectors has a different association with it other than just like, is it the career sector? Is it the skills and knowledge? Is it the wealth? They also have connotations based upon either a negative aspect or a positive aspect. And this is how the stars are oriented for 2025. You will see that we're going to go ahead and focus in on the number 5. If you look on the chart on the left-hand side, it has misfortune. And part of the philosophy around these particular phrasing on here is, if you think about they would kind of visualize and imagine that, hey, if the emperor came to visit you and your 5 energy, if the emperor could either be super happy with you or they could become very displeased with you, and misfortune would fall upon you if you displeased the emperor. But if you please the emperor, whoa, look at that. Number 5, that energy brings you massive amounts of abundance and good luck. That's why it can be, think about it as a seesaw, those old death traps that I don't even think they have them anymore in playgrounds because they were used as torture devices for children who would annoy the larger, heavier of the kids. Usually the older ones would be abusive to the younger ones unless they were kind. And so that's why number 5, the 5 yellow, has gotten such a bad reputation, because if you don't know how to work with it, it can actually destabilize a lot of your life because of that whole fulcrum piece. That's why most consultants say, okay, the only thing you're supposed to do in wherever the 5 yellow is just don't even sleep there. Don't use the room. Just put a big, like a heavy metal item in there or a 5 element pagoda and leave it be. Or you can acknowledge that, you know what, there's some really cool things here. I'm still going to tread lightly. We're not going to bang, like do massive renovations in here. We're not going to, hang pictures and do, make too much of a ruckus in this area, but we are going to make it beautiful. We're going to keep using the area just as we always do and go on about your day. The other energy, there's two other energies that I want to point out here on this, that if you've paid any attention to feng shui at all, you will get a little bit of a hesitation. The other one is the number 2. Many times that has been referred to as the illness star. If you are taking, again, remember that snake energy that I talked about biting off more than you can chew and literally choking on it, then yes, that is the epitome of the 2 illness star. Or if you have become, if you're ready for whatever it is that's coming your way, the other way of looking at it is you can receive more. You can actually accumulate more. This is why it's also associated with buying property. This is going to be a year that if you've been wise and reserved your and haven't blown all your cookies on stupid stuff early in the year, in the fall, you actually might be able to pick up some good bargains. And then the other one that is one that a lot of people like to focus on is the number 3 star. Typically, it is referred to as the quarrelsome star, the argument star. But this year especially, it is negotiation. It is learning how to ask for what you want. That's why it got the reputation as being the argument star, because a lot of times when people would ask for what they want, especially if they are speaking with somebody who's a little more childish and thinks that if you're setting boundaries and just saying, look, I really am not okay with you speaking to me that way. This is what I would prefer instead. They will refer to that, or in their mind, they may think of it, oh, they're arguing with me. They're making me wrong. If you're that person, seek help, get some therapy, because this is going to be a really sucky year for you, if not. And so, but otherwise, for the rest of us, it is our lesson to really learn how to ask for what we want, be very clear in how we are expressing ourselves, and not take it personally when the other person starts to push back a little bit. So let's go ahead and move to, do you have any questions on this, Kathy?
So there's a reason the numbers are distributed the way they are, which is different than what they were in the house Bagua.
Correct.
And that's a very technical thing, and we should just accept that this is this way.
Yes, we can have all kinds of discussions. Like I said, I've been really having to figure out how this all works. I've been studying this since 2017. It takes a little bit for your brain can figure it out. But so let's go ahead and just suffice to say that the northeast sector is where the five yellow lives. That is not the area to do a lot of renovation this year. Okay. And kind of go from there. Now, the 2 areas that I do want to point out that are positive that you want to enhance is the southwest sector. That's where the 8 lives. That you can see where it's prosperity, luck, it's wealth collection. It's about taking the knowledge that you already have and expand and using that to bring more money in. The other one is the number 9. Now, this is kind of a double-edged thing. It's multiplying and multiplication. It's a very like splitting hairs in many ways, but we are in a new 20-year cycle. This 20-year cycle is associated with the fire element. The fire element is about it's about technology, like AI is a fire element. It is about wisdom, knowing what truth actually is. It is actually about women gaining power, about really supporting women and expanding things. And it's about speaking and being on camera. It's about being in the public. So again, the East, if you are going to be enhancing this, this is a good year to bring in like wood elements, bamboo, green, things like that. As long as you are sure that what you want to have multiplied is really what you want to have multiplied. In other words, if you've been given a lot of people grief, then you're going to be bringing more grief your way. And if you've been bringing joy to people, then maybe you'll be getting some more joy if you do that too. So that's why it's like, okay, let's just kind of look at that. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide, because I wanted just for people to see this. There, again, tons of, we can always come back to it if necessary, if anybody in the chat wants to take a look. Now, as I mentioned, that the Bagua map can be expanded or contracted over any space. And Jessie Lee did this over the entire world. And she used Africa as the center point because in all of the landmass, that's the one that has the biggest landmass for everything. And I know for those of us in the United States, it's shocking to see some other country besides us as the center of the universe. But this is what we are expecting over on a global level. And if you want to take a look already at how that, again, we talked a little about the 2 energy, the 5 and the 3 are the ones that I really focused a lot on. Number 5 is centered over there in Russia. And we've been, noticing that this past year, it's about, are they going to make the right decisions and really gain a lot, or are they going to continue making different choices that will cause their fortune to run out? That's the misfortune. We'll go ahead and to talk about Africa. We are hearing a lot about the illness. There's a lot of different diseases and illnesses and contagions that are happening there. If the nations there are able to pull together and to share resources and information, they will be able to receive more help and to get to pull themselves up. You'll also notice that where America is, where the US and Canada and parts of Mexico as well, that number 3 energy, quarrelsome, arguments, legal issues. That if the number 3 is if there's anything I can say right here, is that if you want to calm the energy down around legal issues, you need to bring in metal, because the 3 energy corresponds with yin wood. It corresponds with wood energy. What do you need to cut down a vine that is pulling a tree down? You need wood or a metal. You need to bring out either the nippers or a saw or something like that. That's how you calm that down. And remember what I said earlier at the very beginning, we are missing a lot of metal energy in the entire yearly chart. So who are the best people to bring in right now to bring in law and order, to bring in bring in some rules and structure? Lawyers. So Kathy, if you wanted to go really back into the legal profession, there you go. But it does also indicate that it's possible that we will see more, we might even see more involvement with police work, with reform around that, or hopefully nothing else even worse. I mean, obviously there have been talks about lockdowns and things, and martial law, and how one of the ideas of that could possibly be there, because again, 1965, there was a lot of that going on. So I wanted to show this just so that people could see a little bit of from a global scale how this also plays out. South America looks like they're going to have a positive year, and if you look over here in India, and some of these other countries in that part of the world, they too should be having a lot of positive things happening. Australia has a little bit more of an internal process that they will need to be going through, as well as New Zealand, because they're kind of like just outside of this box. But again, every single one of these areas, there are very positive things outside of this, negative thing. Again, coming back to America with the three there, negotiation. It is asking for what you want. It is being very clear about, okay, this is a legacy, because 3 energy also goes along with family and ancestors and legacy building. Is this the legacy that we want to have? Or is this part of our legacy that we need to acknowledge and clean up? So it's going to be a big introspective year for many, many folks. Okay, we can go to the last slide. And I'm seeing some people in the chat. Thank you. I appreciate you giving me some kudos for the information.
Chris says this is the last slide.
So this was the last one? Oh, I thought I had one more. Okay, well, then we can go ahead and take this one down, unless you guys want to look at something else. But again, one of the other pieces that I would like to talk a little bit more about is, and again, this is where there's a little bit of the technical piece. If anybody has ever had a Chinese astrology reading, sometimes there will be a marker called that looks like it says DE, death and emptiness. And it sounds terrifying. It's kind of like the tarot card, or excuse me, the Tower card when it comes up in the tarot. It can kind of freak people out. Because it stands for like darkness, fear, loss of hope. It's the shadow side of stuff. The snake has that in the year pillar this year. What that means is, because there's no metal to kind of like hold things together, that's why it's showing up in that. So if anybody's like getting real excited and wants to go and Google their own little charts and see what's going out there, if you see that, not always do other practitioners explain that. It just means that there's you might think, okay, this is all going to work out in the end, and your hopes kind of get have to get pulled down into back into reality. It is so important this year for everyone to get systems in place, to get a structure and follow that, because otherwise our energy will get diluted, our efforts will be less impactful, and I don't want that to happen for folks. So the other thing, because again, we're talking about period 9, I kind of touched on that, and I know we're running short on time. The last little piece that I wanted to also throw out there, that the last time we had a period 9, this 20-year cycle, was 1844 to 1863. Again, yeah. So think back to history and on the global expansion scale. We are going to have another similar energy around that. Now, does that mean that after 2043, or starting in 2044, when we switch to the next cycle, that we're going to have the Civil War then? No, but it does mean that we're always going to be changing. We're always going to be learning and finding new things to grumble about, to be happy about, to disagree with, but finding our truth, finding our connection to our own internal guidance systems and disconnecting from all the noise. That's how we're going to be able to take this energy of this year, of every year, and maximize it.
Well, I'm looking at the summation of the year that you sent me, and I'm going to just read it and you can elaborate on it.
Okay.
2025 will be a massive year of misinformation, transformation, and systemic stress. Wisdom, strength, and courage are the three main skills we will need to make it through the chaos. It fits the astrology, the Western astrology. Uh, would- you have more to say about that? Was your statement. Your statement basically sums up what you see coming this year.
Yeah, pretty much. And um, that's one of the reasons why I love listening to you in your forecasts, because it fits so well with everything that I do. I actually do have a monthly I Ching forecast that I have on my channel on the Intuitive Interior on YouTube. Um, and so I just in the process of finishing up my video for February. Um, Last month was let's see, where's my thing for last month. Last month I had that again it was one of the cards that came up was marrying maiden, and that's, if you think about it, that came from the tradition of in China, where men could have more than one wives. And so there was a woman, essentially the concubine, but no power, and all they could do was do as many workarounds as possible. And that's also where the tradition of backstabbing the other women in your life really started, because the belief was that there was a finite amount of resources. We have infinite resources if we choose to believe that. The scarcity mentality this year is strong. Again, we saw that there were only three water squares, and then the three wood squares. The tendency this year is going to be towards hoarding, towards, no, you can't have mine. This is my cookie. I know this guy over here has a huge plate full, but don't you look at my cookie. This is my cookie. And so, yeah, that still very much sums things up. It's the wisdom part. And that's hard because we have so many sources of information and misinformation, and things are really difficult to know which truth are we talking about. Is it the real truth, or is it the made up truth?
This is where grounding and taking care of your center of your chart and self.
Yeah. Yes,
Get you
I do
through
also do online classes on energy hygiene. And so if you go to my website, you can see under the book now button, you'll always see something that's coming up. The next one I have is coming up on Saturday, the 22nd. So that helps people. I teach people techniques on how to ground, how to disconnect from everybody's cord, and then how to shield. That's that really is what made it possible for me to keep doing this work. Because without it, although I have to say, even with all these tools, it's a lot.
Don't I know it? So tell people what your website is.
Yes, it's theintuitiveinterior.com. That's THE, the word intuitive, and then interior singular.com. And that's
your YouTube.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
I'm
YouTube
sorry.
is also under the Intuitive Interior. Everything on YouTube, Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook. It's all the Intuitive Interior. Try to make it simple.
And you do work at a distance, right? People don't have to be in your vicinity to work with
Correct.
you.
Correct. Yes. So if anybody is interested in getting their chart done, they can certainly find that information on my website. If you want to talk about your feng shui, then yeah. In fact, I just got a floor plan yesterday that I get to look at and do that. So, and people can get their access to a free custom that Bagua map that I had that has the natal chart on there. There's a link on my website that people can sign up for. They sign up to get a newsletter. But then I give you instructions on how you can find the facing direction of your home. So then that will show you a link to a more generalized Bagua map that is geared just for the facing direction of your home. So you can start on the journey of getting your home set up properly from a natal standpoint, not necessarily from the specific annual standpoint, but got to start from the basics.
Well, thank you. You've been coming on every year at this time and explaining whatever the new year is, and I really appreciate it. It's always fun to get your point of view on this.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. It's been a blast getting to share this with your audience, as well as just constantly getting to see you, because you're just such a wonderful human. I'm so
Oh, so
grateful
are
you're in
you.
my life.
Right back at you.
Yay.
Thanks very, very much. Everyone, my site again is empowermentunlimited.net, and I have forecasts for every week, every new moon, every full moon, every month, and they are everything but the weekly also posted at omtimes.com, and all of them recorded and posted at my YouTube channel, Professional Aquarian, where I have an ongoing collaboration about political astrology. There's a specific playlist for that. So a lot of people are newcomers to my work because of that. I have a Patreon, patreon.com/Kathy Biehl, and you can find me many, many places. And I wish everybody a happy new year. How's that? Thanks a lot again. Bye.
Bye.